so I was doing business there, so it wasn't necessarily like posting up on a beach every day. And
That's so cool though.
yeah, we were doing. I had a girlfriend that was Mexican, and started building a. I was doing sales, and we built a. Thought it was gonna come for me. We were doing sales. We had a team start building out in Mexico, and so we chose to go and build and train, and so we set up events, and I would do presentations, and she would simultaneously interpret.
Wow.
And yeah, tell me where I need to be.
No, you're fine. Just wherever is comfortable, and then you can pull the mic to you, so that way you're not like, you know.
And so everything that I was saying was being said just a half sentence or a sentence behind me in Spanish. And so after about like a month, I was able to know what I was saying in Spanish. And so I picked up all the words through my presentation. Cool. And so if you can imagine having a set or so of an hour that you then hear all the words, and then the way the sentences work, you kind of, that was how I learned.
Your brain kind of connects. That's crazy. Are you good with music?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say it kind of like goes hand in hand. Okay.
Oh, that's probably. Yeah,
I think
probably.
language and music, I don't know. I don't know enough about the brain, but I want to say that they trigger similar areas in the brain.
Yeah, I think so. Things that I'm good at is
math, probably.
I was very good at math.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wish they would have told me that like you could write computer programs in the future, because in third grade it was like the 80th or 85th or some, it was like some huge percentage, and when they broke it down for me, it's funny to be like, you're good at math, this is what it means. But the I was in the country, I was like one of the top. I remember I took test scores, and I'm like, I was shocked with it, because you never think you're doing good when you're great.
Yeah. And
all right, sorry, I didn't, at least, and to say that never is kind of weird. But with, I think it has to do with mapping, and if, what is it called when you, like storage, or like, compartmentalizing,
I was gonna say, yeah.
Or, yeah, that type of memory, I think is it. Anyhow, thanks for the water.
You're welcome. Are you ready?
I'm pretty ready.
I'm going to keep all that on there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we can do it.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast. I am your host, Vegan Danielle, and with me today is Caleb Brandalise. Hello, Caleb.
Hello, VD.
So Caleb is the CEO of OC Deli, a vegan meal service that connects you with local plant-based chefs who make and deliver ready-to-eat meals right to your door. We're doing this podcast today because I'm really interested in this concept. But before we start getting into that, let's get to know you, Caleb. So you're originally from San Diego, correct?
Born and raised, Poway.
Poway. I live right around the corner from there. I live in Rancho Bernardo.
Oh, cool.
Really
nice.
close. I know I was
Broncos, you're in the blue?
Yeah, no, I didn't grow up there, but I live right there. So OC Deli is vegan. Are you vegan as well?
I am.
And how long?
So about 3 years ago, I phased out of red meats, chicken, and dairy. And over the next year, I was done with fish and eggs.
Wow.
And sometime last year, I decided against honey.
That's awesome. We were talking about that off air. If you guys could see his face right now, it was kind of funny. But and what inspired you to make the change?
It wasn't just one thing. When I'm about to be 27. When I was 20 years old, I had a series of pretty interesting health events happen.
Okay.
Within about a 5-week span, I got a chronic bronchitis that essentially turned into shingles. I know that that's not exactly how it works, but because of it, I was weak. And then on the tail end of that, I got a hiatal hernia. And for those of you that don't know, it's where your stomach herniates into your esophagus, and it's just like a constant, extreme feeling of like acid reflux or something. Apparently, people that get it, first off, you're older, especially with shingles too. You're much older.
Yeah.
It was stress-induced, diet-induced. I know what I was eating, and I know what I was thinking. and I was couch surfing at the time, so my life was pretty hectic. And as that happened to me, thank goodness, one of the people I was couch surfing on was someone that I deemed as a mentor. I mentioned that I was in Mexico doing sales. This guy that was helping create my understanding of how to be like a professional to some extent, and do leadership trainings and stuff. He gave me a CD set. It's very outdated, but it was about raw eating. And it was the first time I had ever heard any talk on the microbiome. It was definitely the first talk I heard megahertz and food and how your organs even function at certain frequencies. And it was just the first time for me to kind of like peel back, so to say, the examples of how eating great can make you be great. And so I went on a cleanse, cleaned up my system. It was only like a week cleanse. I just did the lemonade, the Beyonce diet, right?
Yeah.
And
what is that one? I totally forgot what it was called. Anyways, go ahead.
yeah, I mean the lemonade diet, or
The cayenne thing, right?
Yeah, the cayenne pepper.
Lemon. Yeah,
Precisely.
I forgot what that one was called.
There's 18 different names for it. And so I went from eating a brisket mac and cheese grilled cheese sandwich every day. I was working on a food truck.
Wow.
And I went to salads, and I cleaned up my act, and I had such a great result, and I never got sick again, and I didn't have to take pills for my gastritis or whatever they thought I was going to have. And I kind of just let that be. And I was eating as I was, just with a little bit more awareness. And so I was still Cali burritos and still quesadillas or whatever would be thrown my way, but I would definitely limit how often really greasy, heavy set stuff. Then about 3.5 or so years ago, a girlfriend I was with, she just started falling apart. Like, she was healthy 1 year, and then over the next year, a ridiculous amount of symptoms started going on. I mean, her weight dropped below 100, her hair was falling out, vision decreasing, she was fainting, had migraines daily, and some other things. And for a year, she was getting misdiagnosed. Just a neurologist, cardiologist, and regular doctors, they didn't know what was up because she had all these symptoms. So like, oh, this, oh, this, oh, this.
Right.
And they ended up just saying, okay, maybe it's hyperthyroidism. And they were going to put her on these pills.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that those pills work is once you take them, you can't stop.
I know.
And I'm like, I was really focused on my business, a business at the time. And so I wasn't paying attention, but when she said that, like, oh yeah, they're going to prescribe me these pills, and I'm like, you were just fine. This is so crazy. And so I said, here, listen to the CD set. Like, it was all I knew how to do, because I'm like, it helped me. And through the CD set, it was a Tony Robbins disc set.
Okay.
He hasn't been on point with his health recommendations, supporting Dr. Gundry has been, like, that was another thing. But at least, like I said, it was in the ballpark of correct. And
well, it was the first resource that you had finally found that might help with something.
Her only example of understanding nutrition before was from her family was in Herbalife. And, like, they promote health and wellness, but have dairy products. Right. And people don't understand how contradicting that is.
Yeah.
And so when I gave her that, her decision was to cut out red meats, chicken, and dairy. And within like 5 weeks, her vision started improving, her hair started growing back, her weight balanced out, she stopped getting daily migraines, her nails stopped growing out this weird fungus. And she could like lift weight, she could do a push-up again. It was like a light switch, as we hear with like people recovering from certain types of diabetes and all this type of stuff. And so we saw that, and I was like, this is awesome. So then I cut stuff out. I essentially made her do it, and then she had such great results. I'm like, okay, I would just be dumb not to follow. And so we started that transition. About the same time, actually, I cut out alcohol. That was getting in the way of my relationship as well, and then other personal goals. And so I really just cleaned up my whole system, just
That's insane.
like 3 years ago. And so that was how it started. It was, I saw a literal life example of someone that was on the edge of who knows what, take out stuff, and her lifelong allergies and her asthma
Wow.
all stopped being issues. She had seasonal allergies and she couldn't run far, and now she, uh, as far as I know, she still works in heels downtown, long hours. You know, like
Wow. Okay, wait. So you say you were 26?
I am.
Wow. I love. Okay, so I just had a girl on not too long ago who's 20, I think. Alyssa, and she, like, you guys are both giving me, like, that pen's not working for some reason. You guys are both giving me kind of the same vibe where it's like I'm just so impressed with this generation coming up. I'm a couple years older than you, but I mean, we're still technically part of the same generation, so I'm not gonna make myself sound too old. But yeah, like, just to be that aware of your body and her body, and to be open to that, you know, instead of just running to the doctor and taking a million prescriptions like America loves to do, to actually look at what's causing this and maybe we can live a healthier life. It's amazing. And so amen to that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. I do want to talk a little bit about OC Deli. Should we talk about that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So
Let's OC do it.
So this goes right into my first question about it. So OC Deli, that's like literally one word.
OCD, ELI, no space.
Yes, OCD. That's what I wanted to point out. So is that something that you have personal experience with?
Have you been seeing me adjust this paper over here? I'm like, okay, it's now a perfect smile underneath the...
I wanted like draw on it, but this pen doesn't work. And then, man,
we're not too far away from another. So yeah, OCD is on purpose. And rightfully so. When I was about 14 years old, I was already a key holder at a small business. I was working a sidewalk. Sorry, it was called Sidewalk Sunday. It was a dessert parlor and 50s style deli. And I made sandwiches. I made shakes. I cleaned dishes. I locked up. And and I found out, and it was so funny because I started working at 13. It was a friend's mom, and so that's how I got in under the table.
I did too, actually.
Thanks, Michelle. and so I would make things perfectly. Like I really cared about an even bite. Like the mustard should go all the way to the edge,
right.
And there's a certain know-how on the soda machine to, like, they're called soda jerks. You got to jerk it right. And what? Was it my motion? Yeah. I was thinking to myself that, okay, there are regulars that come in that request me over Deb. I made better sandwiches. I made better shakes. And all I thought was, I just care about the stuff. I just put love in it. Like, that's my extra ingredient. And that was my mindset. And I'm like, one day I'm going to have a place of my own. And everyone's going to have to make things perfectly. Because I saw what Deb did. I saw what some other people did. I'm like, these sandwiches are not even comparable to
my
mine.
Standard.
Definitely not. And you can tell in the bites. Anyway, so I thought, like, all right, one day I'll have a place of my own. And it'll be called the OC Deli because everything will have to be made perfect. So I thought it would be like this perfect place to eat. So that was the idea. Way before I was vegan, way before technology, like that was before smartphones. So you never thought like you could maybe have something where people could order from their phone or things of that nature. But yeah. I always wanted the systematic, clean-esque approach to something in the future.
That's setting up a pretty high standard for your employees, unless you're going to reduplicate yourself.
So the D's interchangeable. So OC desserts, OC drinks, OC dogs for like German cuisine. And it really doesn't stop there. I think even on like a non-product side, you could do OC development,
OC Danielle.
OC exactly,
yes.
Precisely, OC damn straight.
Oh man, we got new hashtags. Okay, so this concept that you're coming up with. So at first, when we were first talking, I was thinking it was a physical deli, like, whatever. So your concept is quite different than that, and I'd like you to explain that a little bit.
It's morphed over the years, as I think any business might. Like I said, when I was 14, I was thinking I was opening up a deli, and last year was the year I started really putting pen to paper. If we had to be completely technical, maybe a little bit before that, I was doing sketches and stuff. And in my mind, I'm a first-time founder. And so in my mind, I thought I was going to be able to go and raise like $2 to $3 million. Like this is before I started talking to people. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good idea. I have a few pictures. I have restaurant experience, and so I just thought that I thought much larger than what was practical, and so I thought I was going to open up a deli, place. I thought I was going to open up a 24/7 fast food restaurant. It would be a healthy vegan menu, and we would be able to do on-demand deliveries in reusable containers. And this all stemmed from my extreme frustration with the way that the system in the world is kind of working right now.
Yeah.
I've been doing Uber and Lyft for the last few years. I've done like 6,500 rides. I'm like really deep into it, and 5-star driver. And so I've always taken great pride in my work. And it's funny. And so Uber started making me do Uber Eats when that came out, and I was shocked at how wild it is in the to-go space. I'm like, okay, I am driving across the city to drive someone this pho, and it's in styrofoam. There's like 12 pieces of trash. They're getting a silverware set that has a fork, knife, and a spoon. I'm like, it's just soup, and they're eating it at their house. I'm like, this is so broken. I'm like, for this one order, I know that we're already close to electrification on cars, and it'll still take another decade and a half to two to get everyone inside an electric vehicle. But I didn't see anyone working towards truly reusable and renewable types of consumption models where it's like, I know precisely. And it's not even like it's you at this point. It's like, where is the option? It's the system.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's like, was that, why are you pointing at Danielle? We lifted up these plastic water bottles. When you go anywhere, the types of things for convenience that we're equipped for, it was pretty gut-wrenching to me, because I was kind of unaware of it beforehand, and then once I started doing all these trips, I'm like, this is really wasteful. People are still using styrofoam.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what could I do? Well, maybe if I made a big enough splash inside of a waste-free style model and had it be healthy vegan food, you would either get purchased or you would either get competed upon. And I'm like, okay, what if a company like Blue Apron started doing things with not even compostables, because you're still making something for a one-time use. What if there was a way to have a closed circuit where you're reusing the things within it? And I'm like, we already do this at home. We just wash dishes. At restaurants, a set of silverware can be used up to 1,500 times, and either it gets broken or lost or stolen. But I was thinking, we kind of do this with cans, like soda cans, and there's a good recycling system for that in glass. And I'm like, maybe there should be something going on for
Plastic.
food. And so those were all my ideas, and then I kind of like put them onto the paper or whatever. And so I started moving towards OC Deli. And as I went through that path, I realized that doing a 24/7 thing out of the gates was not really practical. And in tech, I started doing some volunteer work for Startup San Diego, which is a nonprofit here in town. They do Startup Week and some other tech events. I help with all the events. And I realized that I should apply a lot of those principles to this type of business. In tech, you don't put out a product that's great. You put out a product that is as little as possible to be able to be proven that it's something viable.
Mm-hmm.
It's called an MVP, a minimum viable product. And so I'm like, what would that be for me? I'm like, maybe I could just make food and deliver it to people and prove that people will buy from something I make and be okay with using containers that I then pick up at the end. And that's how it morphed into when we launched it at the end of last year. I was shopping, cooking, cleaning, delivering, and recovering stainless steel containers from people's houses, and delivering the food that I would stay up way too late making. And just like, cooking's not my forte. It's definitely not, but I wanted to prove that it would work. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to raise money until I can prove that this works. And so that was how that kind of unfolded.
I love it. So I have a friend, she's been on this podcast before. Her and her mom have a little business together where they make vegan meal prep. And they're not quite to that level yet, but they do reuse the containers. So when people
Nice.
come back after, so they do a week service, and then they give the containers back, and then they wash them and whatever, and reuse them again.
Do they use like Pyrex or like Tupperware?
I
or
actually
something
have
like
one
that?
here. We'll look at it
Neat.
afterwards. I don't know what kind
Yeah,
it is.
so the way to
It's not Pyrex though.
in my opinion, like the way to be able to solve it initially is a localized effort.
Right.
If your neighbor was cooking for you, you likely would be giving back the utensils that they gave to you, and the evolution of OC Deli. Like when I finally launched last year, it was just before I had this big launch event. I brought Dr. Greger to town last year.
I saw on your website.
I mean, I booked him in February last year. I had nothing going on. All I had was ambition and a sexy set of letters that I put in an email to him saying what I was looking to be about. And they had a date that was available. I mean, it was a pretty price to get him here.
Yeah.
But I ended up having that event. We had like 500 plus people that showed up.
Wow.
And there was so much intrigue in what was happening with OC Deli after that I literally couldn't supply it was, I mean, it's just me with OC Deli. That's one of my bigger mistakes, just never building a team. And it was just lack of knowledge that it was so important. It wasn't necessarily the whole time like I was trying to control everything. I just didn't think that it was needed until it was like definitely needed. And then so I had to not sell people stuff. It just was not scalable to even do like 10 orders at a time,
Right.
let alone dozens. And then as I mentioned, in November, I had to shut down due to family drama. And then I still had some requests coming in, but in the background, I was like, okay, can't do your food, but I know some people that can. Let me connect you. And as I was doing that, I was so happy because I realized that could be the business model. I'm like, maybe I could just be the connector piece to these local people that make food. These guys love making food. They're great at it. It's what they want to be about.
It's their thing
It's
anyway.
their thing. They're cooks.
Yeah.
That's why we call them chefs. And so I'm like, okay, then maybe OC Deli could be this resource, like this vegan hub, this plant-based place for people to be able to find local goods and services from budding vegan entrepreneurs.
It's so cool.
And so that's where I am going. I'm not going to open up OC Deli and make it available for anything more than like merch sales or something once I get that going soon, until I have a CTO. I need someone to really help with the technology. That's my biggest weakness within the things that we need to get to the next step. I'm great at attracting customers, communicating, and exposing what OC Deli is about. We already do have a good base, and I essentially think I found product market fit. And obviously, you understand that vegans are very underserved, not just in San Diego. San Diego is also kind of ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it's underserved here, think about everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so to build a product that you then know will end up working. It's not building the product that you want. It's building the product that will
That people
be the
want.
one. It'll be the no. So it not even just that. If you know that you have product market fit, you can be able to extrapolate how many customers are coming on, and then look out 2 years, 3 or 5 years, and be like, that's the product we need to start building now.
Right.
And once I heard that, I was like, okay, then I definitely can't be the technologist because I can't build a product that's 5 years out. I don't even know what it would look like. And so you would get some of an architect to be able to do that. And so in the background, I've been doing things like this, talking, promoting, doing my own videos, and networking, and trying to just nudge businesses, organizations, and people in healthier, eco-friendlier thinking and ways. It's kind of turned into like consulting with some restaurants.
Yeah.
Like, your menu looks like this now, but it could look like this. And, with just a few posts in these areas, honestly, you could probably turn a whole new crowd and bring a whole new vibrance to what you got going on. I think fixing the infrastructure that's current is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
If restaurants don't adjust, in my mind, I think most of them are dead, because look what happens with technology. you can scale a service and it can go across the United States very quickly. So if you're a mom and pop restaurant, what do you stand against what's coming? Well, you should get there first. And I think vegan's the future. That's not just my thought.
It kind of has to be at a certain point, you know, or at least more.
Unsustainable is by definition unsustainable.
Right. Right. And who knows how long that may be, but at some point it'll come.
I mean, even the people that have been studying their whole lives, climate science, they're like, yeah, there is just this one point that might come that we have no idea what might happen. Because if the temperature changes, the currents change, the winds change. I mean, how is Brazil going to get its fertilization if the winds stop coming from Africa? It's like there are all these, and then the currents underneath the water that move the nutrients. Like over half of our oxygen comes from the ocean. We're killing it for animals, which are killing people. And but business. Oh.
Right, money, man.
Money. It's not even that much money. I mean,
well, I mean, overall, we're talking about trillions of dollars, but
we are, but for everyone, but not like, I mean, like how much, I don't know how profitable a business is that needs so many subsidies.
Yeah. You know, that would be something I'd be more interested in looking into, especially with like the meat and dairy industry. It's like, how many subsidies are you getting?
They get 50 times the amount as fruits, veggies, and nuts in the U.S.
In the U.S.
And I remember that I used to think nuts they took so much water to make. I mean, that's fractions of what beef does.
Yeah, I know. Well, because nobody considers that the life of a cow, which, is sped up with, hormones and all that other added shit. But
yeah, we make it quick.
Just make them grow faster than their bones can handle.
And then kill them sooner.
Oh, God. Yeah. It's crazy to me how people just think of animals as products. It's really sad.
You know what's even crazier is that, like, little kids don't even know to ask about it.
I know. And the ones
you hear and then they turn right away. They're like, wait, you mean this is an animal? All right, I'm done.
Okay, so I got to say something real quick. I did, Anonymous for the Voiceless.
I think.
So they do, like, it's not a protest, but it's like a demonstration where they stand on the street and they wear a mask.
Black,
and then they show a laptop of, like,
didn't do a lot in Australia, huh?
Ah, man, I know. So I was really scared to do one because I'm like, I'm not a protester. I don't want to be that person, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I haven't done a whole lot of activism, so I'm going to go. And I went, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever seen. But my point was that there were we did it right over here in Little Italy, and there were families that would walk by with little children. And once the parents figured out what was on the screen, they were like, oh my God, no, cover your eyes. And they would cover the kids' eyes. Now, I get it. I get you don't want to have your kids see violence, but make that connection that pizza you're about to go eat right now is that right there.
I don't know how this flows with vegans, but if like a dog pees or poos in your house, do you shove its face in it? Or like near it, so you're like, you see this, bad dog? You ever do that?
So I don't have dogs now, but I used to. I used to though before I was vegan.
I mean, like this should kind of happen with food with people,
right?
You see your cellulite, you see your cankles, you see your acne, you see this pizza, and it's not even just pizza.
That's why.
And you know what? So I did mess up with the Gregor event. I didn't allocate, or sorry, I wasn't a good manager of the volunteers, and so I carried too much on my back, and so
You sound like you're that kind of guy.
I left. Oh man, but let me tell you, in future events, I will definitely not be that kind of guy. This one was too painful to avoid for future similar mistakes. I kind of was shooting from the hip with the questions, and man, it was also as if like I just wasn't educated on how great conversations are, and then also when you're sitting with someone, you can just ask him anything.
Right.
And I did not put that into context. I was kind of on guard, like, don't ask the wrong thing. And now I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get him back. I'm like, I'm bugging his assistant. I'm like, next time. Because I would love to know when people are thinking they're eating healthy, like how off are they? Because having a little bit of cheese on something where there's salad, or like even Caesar salad with some chicken in it, people think that's a healthy meal. And is this chicken even free-range organic, non-crossbred or whatever?
Terms.
Right.
Yeah.
Alaskan chicken.
Yeah.
Like, and so because it might just be a little bit off, but it's the slight edge that adds up. If you're doing it every day,
right.
even once a meal, just a little bit, I just think that it's still creating this inflammation inside you.
No, I agree because I mean I don't care about all these marketing terms with the free range whatever. You know, those are what they are. They're marketing terms. They barely mean anything. Yep. Yeah. So I can say from my personal experience, I have been into health and fitness, what I thought was health and fitness, almost my entire life, like adult life, you know, so probably 19-ish on. I've always been active in the gym. I've always thought I was eating right. And my meals before I went vegan went like this. Breakfast in the morning, if it was a school day, it was, you know, cereal with milk, if it was with blueberries on top because, you know, antioxidants. And then if
it's healthy.
Right. And then with you know, a normal, if it wasn't a school day, I might do some scrambled eggs or, you know, something like that. Lunch and dinner were almost always the same thing. I'd meal prep right before, and it was always rice, veggies, chicken breast. So I was eating 2 chicken breasts a day, lunch and dinner. And
you're working out, so you think that you're getting gains or you think you're getting stronger and healthier.
And like, okay, physically, they didn't look like there was anything wrong with me. I looked like I was in phenomenal shape.
Totally.
But the problem is these kind of things don't come up when you're 25 normally, you know, and you're working out every day. They're coming up when you're 55 and like you've been doing this for the past 40 something years.
And then it cracks. We are so great at masking pain.
I know.
We're so good. And people are so strong that it's hard to comprehend how meals are affecting you.
Right, and you're not seeing it on a cellular level. When you and I are sitting here talking and there's someone else, if you're not noticeably overweight or you know have certain symptoms like you were saying, hair falling out, acne, those kind of things,
that's
like
pretty intense.
Those are more intense symptoms. But like if you don't see those things, why would you think there's anything wrong?
You're sweating profusely, you smell, you don't think it's the stuff you're eating. You're like, oh, I have a hypermetabolism or something that someone uneducated told you is probably the thing.
Or even doctors, because a lot of them don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let me tell you.
That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, you can share your story if you like.
No, that was.
Oh, you're just saying.
Just
yeah.
As Gregor says, he's like, having MD at the end of your name is a declaration that you know nothing about nutrition.
Yeah, I've had 2 doctors on this show so far. Both of them have told me that they had 1 hour of nutritional training in order to pass their MD. 1 hour.
1 hour of training?
Of nutritional.
So that's only like 40 minutes of actual listening to nutrition talk.
So.
Like an hour class?
Right. First 10 minutes, sit down.
Were they punctual?
Right. I know. That could be a factor because when you're only dealing with such a small sample
No.
size.
I did extra credit too. I have like an hour 30.
I mean, this is an MD.
I did a weekend event.
I know, right? Like how, okay, so if we are educating our doctors to mask symptoms, if we're teaching them to, you know, slightly put a Band-Aid on something, hypothetical Band-Aid on something, so that people, they're more, what I was going to say, maintainable, you know, more comfortable, but we're not dealing with root causes.
I wonder if the doctors know how the system was designed for them.
Probably not.
And I don't think that it's too far from like off in the future, because since it's being talked about in some circles, you never really know how like the spread will work within like the network effects. But I mean, we just have to all come to terms with that. Most of us growing up, actually all of us pretty much growing up, we were lied to.
Right.
We were lied to. Like the food pyramid was not a good idea. There was a bigger section for dairy and meat than there was for fruits and veggies. And due to a lawsuit, they ended up changing that over to the My Plate program in 2012.
Which is slightly better.
A little bit better. They got they allow soy milk in the milk section, and they say protein instead of meat.
Which I actually hate more because
it's still up to people. It's still up to people.
Well, then people start. Okay, I hear this a lot, especially in the restaurant industry. You know, you got your veggies, your rice, and your protein. No, your veggies have protein
veggies
too.
have protein. Oh, you know what? Rice has protein too. Do you know that? Yeah,
right.
There's some protein in there.
That's
so you have your protein,
Yeah.
protein, and cholesterol.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's rename it the right way.
Antibiotics.
Yeah.
No, organic. Oh, okay. Sat fat.
But it's free range
Sat fat.
antibiotics and torture.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I'm glad we're on the same page here. And I got to say, like, for your age, I am so impressed with where you're at because I got to say, like, guys, well, girls too, are little shitheads in their mid-20s and they don't want to listen and they don't care.
I am very lucky I got it out of my system when I was a teenage boy. I was in a band. I was a drummer.
Yeah. Oh.
And so I had the long, curly, dirty hair, bloodshot eyes, and I played the part of a musician very well. So I grew up on pianos, played drums in a band, and thought I was going to be a rock star until the band broke up in like when I was like 19. And then right after that, I was always balancing restaurant jobs for a few more years, but I started getting into sales, and that's like where it was a type of sales job where it was just commission based, and so they want you to do well. And so they just pump you with personal development. And so I just started overdosing on better stuff.
That was an awesome analogy. Awesome use of words. Sorry. I'm trying to get a water.
Oh, that's okay. Well, you really want a pen.
No, that's in the other room, unfortunately. God, this makes me feel guilty about the plastic. We got to figure something out about this whole water bottle situation here.
Talk to Five Gyres. You know what? Those guys would be pumped to guide in any way more eco-friendly stuff. I just saw for the first time. I gotta give these guys credit. Five Gyres. Have you heard of the?
No.
It's you know what like the gyres are that the trash is accumulated and the Pacific Patch and and so Five Gyres is like an eco-friendly company that well, I can't really explain what they do, but they are pushing the good. They're fighting the good fight. And one of the things that they've recently done is I think they're in 5 different WeWorks now, where WeWork, instead of having plastic cups for like their water dispenser, they now have, in addition to that, they have stainless steel cups to be able to use. And so, I mean, I watched it transition because with working with Startup San Diego, I've been in WeWork a lot over the last few years. And then once they started having these stainless steel cups in there, I'm like, I see people using them. And so I'm like, yes, not a plastic cup, not a plastic cup. And so maybe they can guide you towards a good way. Maybe there could be some sort of piggyback between,
well, especially
or
here
just
as a
ideas.
business.
Maybe, yeah, just ideas because there's got to be a better way.
There is. There's got to be. And it's hard being in a position here where you're like, it's like, gosh, I try to reuse my forks and stuff, like I'll wash them off when I'm done and put them on my desk. I have oatmeal almost every day here. Nice. So like I'll try to wash off the spoon and keep it because they're plastic, it's like little things. And I'll just watch, just the employees here, like not on purpose. Nobody knows better. And they're just like, use a spoon to stir the coffee, throw that away. Grab another spoon for their oatmeal, throw it away. And that's within a 10-minute period. I see
just very quickly.
Oh my gosh.
And so I mean, it sounds like you're a little more conscious than some within it. But I mean, isn't the average like a few pounds of trash a day or something? It's something wild.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have a few pounds of peels and compost a day.
Right?
Yeah, but with that, I think that there needs to be like machines that get put into businesses that like take care of the utensils and stuff, because when it's hard to do, then it's hard to instill.
Right.
And
well, especially if the person feels there's no personal benefit for it. It's like, why would I do that?
Well, just because of the world, because of us.
Right.
That's why I think if you connect your purpose to like being a part of this whole thing, then it's not so one-dimensional.
Right.
And being like, is this harming me? Oh, then it's okay. When you connect everyone else, you're like, oh wow, me being in a bad mood is not just me. It's like other people. Oh wow, me not knowing how to speak better is not just limiting me. It's other people. Oh wow, me eating like this out and about is not just encouraging bad things for me, but it's enabling others to feel comfortable with ordering crappy stuff. And so like I think about this so much that when I'm in a grocery store, if someone's looking at the meat section or something and I happen to have to walk by it, or like cheese section, I've done this multiple times. I go up to something and I'll pick it up look at it and like act like I'm really disgusted and put it down and walk away or something. Like it's easiest in the cheese section, but I try and act like I'm despised over what people are considering to purchase.
I feel like I could watch you doing like one of those hidden camera shows. It's like, like just to see what people's reaction.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so you had mentioned to me off air that you have more than OC Deli going on. I know we just talked a little bit about a couple other things. Was there anything else that you've got?
Plate spinning. Yeah. So I was premature on a few things when I was starting OC Deli. Like I mentioned, I thought I was going to have this 24/7 spot. And so before my business partner signed to become a business partner, I was anticipating we had this restaurant lined up and all these things. So I put in an order for 700 unique double insulated stainless steel bowls customized with OC. So like I just spent frivolously last year for a good portion of the year. And that added up to what is now about $500 a month in interest, credit card debt. And it's not too big. It's sub 20, but I above 15. And that's I've gone through a big transition. I mean, so like just in my last 2 months, I went through a pivot in the business. I went through a death in my family and a breakup of like a pretty long-term relationship. That led me to need to move back in with pops and stepmops. And so my responsibilities are like, dude, you got to get your finances in order. It just doesn't feel good to not be where I'm capable of. Like I'm extremely capable.
Yeah.
And so tried really hard last year in launching OC Deli, learned everything and realized that you don't need to go what do they say, balls to the wall?
Yeah.
Or something like have patience.
Have a plan.
Have patience. Have like stick to a plan that is not so quick and just more practical.
Right.
And instead of like I now also kind of am not thinking I want to even raise money for it. I'm like, you could build it slowly and then keep everything, right? But you can just control the process a lot. I don't know. So still throwing it up. I have skills in like digital advertising and marketing, face-to-face sales and trainings. I have a lot of leadership lessons ingrained in me, and so I can pretty effectively lead teams within those realms. And so I kind of am doing like contractual stuff here and there, but also I'm looking for some sort of sales is like a big forte of mine. So if I found a job that I could grow into over a year or 2 years, maybe longer if it does unique things. That's kind of what I'm doing, just to really focus on getting out of debt is the biggest thing.
We
and
have a
in
sales
the background,
department here.
Yeah. We'll talk.
Free veggies.
And oh my God, thank you again. So I now kind of am aligning my responsibilities, and I see like this cool trajectory where with OC Deli not being something I need to cook and shop for, there is a lot I can do in the wee hours of the night.
Yes.
I still believe that you can have a 9-to-5 and still be working your dream.
Yeah.
The world is 24/7, and so just look at how much you need to sleep, and look at how much there should be an hour. Like between 6 and 7.5 is like prime time for me.
Yeah.
And as long as I can lock that out, I don't care how late I stay up. I've been doing Uber and Lyft and on the sides. That's a neat networking and then market testing thing where you just like you get all these people that
I can imagine being in the car with you. Hey, what's up?
Oh my God. I know I'm very different of an Uber driver for a lot of people, but like if I would have made,
you're intelligent and you're aware and you're well spoken and you're
these guys don't know what they're getting into when they get into my car. It's so great. I blow away some people, and sometimes like I have some people that have blown away me for sure. That's a really cool job. And so the plates I'm spinning is I help set up events for Plant Diego, which is you had Tracy on.
Yeah.
So for Plant Diego, I help set up events for Startup San Diego and then run the organizational or part of the organizational teams there. Those are very, very part-time things.
Yeah.
And like right now I'm making a very basic website and e-commerce page for a local vegan chocolate company, and so I'm just trying to help inside the things I care about within the skills. So
wow, you are. No, I was just like, oh, you are so motivated and so intelligent. I love it. Like it's I feel like there's a lot of that lacking in people today. It's just very sheeple. That's the word I got. Sheeple. Just everybody, you know, they just want to follow this certain path, and you got to go to school, and you got to, you know, do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no thinking outside the box. Now, I was a lot like you when I was younger. Like, I finished high school early. I moved out, didn't know where I was going to go, so I lived in my car. Like, I was just like, I am out of this small town because home life wasn't great, and it was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I don't care what it takes or what I have to do, but I'm going to make ends meet.
And it was just never not an option.
Right.
Never not?
Never not. Double negative. Yeah, and it just kind of, it blew my mind when I would run into other people because that's all I knew. I didn't look back after that, like as far as like going back home, but it was like, I don't know, I would meet people that had maybe a more structured upbringing and it would kind of blow my mind. Like I remember this one girl in particular sticks out of my mind that I went to her house. We jumped in her car. We went to go somewhere. We had to go to the gas station. We go to the gas station, and she just sat in her car when we got to the pump. And I'm like, "Are you getting gas?" And she's like, "Oh, can you do it for me? I don't know how. My mom or my boyfriend have always done it for me." And oh my God, yeah, like we were 20, like you don't know how to pump your own gas. Like I don't know. It just blew my mind, but it kind of opened up to what I was dealing with in the world, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, this is so different from me. Like, I've always been a survivor. I've always been, you know, the go-getter. I'm going to make this happen no matter what it takes. And
did you do Legos or any models growing up?
I loved Lego. My
so
grandma.
Like that problem solve, I know that has stuff to do with it. It's gotta.
I think so too. Yeah, I was like total tomboy. Like that, my parents would always buy me dolls and stuff, and I would tie them to my ceiling fan in my room and turn it on.
By the head or foot?
I think by the head, because I think it hang on, but they would fly off and I would like want to break them. And then I would go steal my brother's like Connects and Legos and those things and build things. So I was like really demon child, but no, I was just like, I was more interested in creating.
Creative, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, totally went way off topic, but I think our brains are kind of similar. I just You're a little smarter than me.
Oh my gosh.
I did a lot of drugs when I was younger, so I don't know if that has something to do with it, but
if it makes you feel better.
No, you're very well spoken.
You're here too, though.
This is true.
You're very.
You
seem really
I'm not
grounded.
Normal, which is good. I mean, I'm okay with that.
I just wrote this last night. I'm like, normal is obese, and normal is poverty,
boring,
and normal is negative.
And not creative, and I know.
Like, yeah, most people aren't negative, and you can either add to that or you can add to them.
Right. I love that. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we go? Long pause, enter words here.
No, all I can say is you are very fun to talk to.
Oh, thank you. No, you too.
You were, like this. I don't know how long we've been in here, but it doesn't seem like long to me.
I was going to look, but I don't know.
Whatever it would be, I'm thinking half the time probably. And so I'm thrilled that you're doing all of this with specialty produce, and it's. I mean, like, that was a genius move on their end for pulling you in, for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely was.
That's props to Roger, one of the owners here. He's also vegan. It was his idea for me to have a podcast. So thanks, Roger, if you're listening.
Yes, thank you.
So speaking of specialty produce, we have one more little thing I'd like to do at the end. Mm-hmm. And to tie in our specialty produce app, which you can download for free today on iTunes, or I always say iTunes, iPhones and Androids. And today you picked broccoli romanesco. Now, I gotta say, because you're super intelligent and analytical and kind of a nerd in a good way, I have a feeling the reason you picked it was something to do with the pattern on the Fibonacci.
Is it 1.6? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Ooh.
I forget what it is.
Should have looked it up. I was actually, when I was in calculus,
that we know it's a decimal, though.
Yeah,
at least a step closer.
Yes.
But no, I picked that just because I don't think I've ever seen one in person. And I'm pretty into Neil deGrasse Tyson and the way that he talked about it. I was like, oh wow, that just sounds beautiful. It just really seems like a work of art for nature, something that is symmetric and tasty and good for you.
Follows a pattern. Yeah. So here's a little, I was going to say two sentences that I pulled from our Specialty Produce app. Broccoli romanesco offers distinct nutty flavor described as more intense than broccoli. This pale green vegetable tastes like a cross between broccoli and cauliflower. Its unique growth pattern creates ornate twists from 4 to 5 inch light green heads, just like we talked about. If anybody wants to find out more information about you or your concepts that are going on right now with OC Deli, where can they find information?
Caleb Brandalise is what I would search on any platform.
Okay. So Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, so CalebBrandalise. You can, CalebBrandalise.com. I'm turning it over right now, but that also has links to all my platforms. But I'm on SoundCloud. I do music mixes. That's my one hobby I do every 5 to 6 weeks. I am on Twitter is Caleb's brand, actually. I too have Caleb Brandalise, but it's too many characters. I'm like, I should have a shorter one.
Oh.
And this was before, obviously, they doubled the characters, and now it actually wouldn't be too bad. Caleb Brandalise on Instagram, Caleb Brandalise on Facebook, and Caleb Brandalise on YouTube. And I do, that's actually probably going to be one of the cooler places to start following me.
Okay, cool. Well, we will list those in the description for those that missed that talk, the audio part of it.
So yeah, we're putting this video on there.
Oh, shoot, that too. Well, I meant the description for the iTunes, but yeah, you're also creating a video right now, so I guess we'll see more. So
thanks a lot, VD.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was going to say CB, but anyway.
CB's good.
CB works?
That's me, yeah.
Well, I know. Anyway, guys, we will talk to you later. Thank you so much for coming in today. That was fun. Okay.
You're too cool. You might be too cool.
Oh,
you stopped it? Thanks.
I stopped it for you. Okay, so guess how much time it was?
I saw it. It's like 50 or 48?
Well,
47?
This one was longer, but it was just because it was running before we actually started. But that one was 55, but it's probably
dope.
50-something.
Okay, you did so good.
No, you did too. You were really easy to talk to, because sometimes I get people that aren't very talkative, and then it's hard for me to try to come up with things to say. I'm like, so...
So we're cutting this short.
Right? I know, I'm like, this is...